Yesterday, a brand new update for the Divi theme by Elegant Themes was released, and they have now implemented a feature that they're calling the global color customization. So let's take a quick look at this. What you can do now is you can say, I want to change the background color here, and rather than having this yellow here, I want to change it to whatever color you want, and you can convert that color to a global color. So let's say we change it first and then we make it greenish. And the advantage of this is that you can do the same with other colors, and then once you start changing the color, all of these colors will be changed at the same time. So it gives you the advantage as the person who is designing websites that you can very easily make switches without going to every single element. So now this green and this green is the same global color, and if I change the global color, I will change the global color everywhere. So as you can see now, it's dark purple here and here at the same time. So this from a usability perspective, this is an excellent update, just like all the recent updates that Divi came up with, or the Elegant Themes team came up with. It looks really promising on the surface, but just as is the case with the last couple of updates, if you look a little bit deeper, there's a big problem with this update, and that is the code that is being generated. So let's just, for sake of showing you this a little bit more, let's change a few more items into the global color. So we just say, okay, global color, and then go to this color as well, and then do the same for several items at the same time. You can do that on a Mac if you hold the command button, and on Windows it should be control. So let's just change all of these at the same time to purple. Okay, so let's go save the page and then look at the preview. And the thing, it's not gonna be, I picked the prettiest color for you guys. It's not super obvious if you're just looking at the site without inspecting the source code. And in that sense, Divi is always like very reliable. It tends to come up with really, this is the original design. It tends to come up with good looking designs. Everything looks pretty clean. But if you start and look a little bit deeper into the source code, if you go to inspect element, you can see that the background color for this row, for example, is added as an inline style here. So we have ETPB row underscore 0, and then we have a background color here. This wouldn't be super problematic if this is the only row on the entire page where this applies, because the problem is that if you have another row that is using the same color, Divi will just generate another line of code with the same information. So here it's a bit more obvious if we look at the blurbs. This is the second blurb. We start counting at 0. So this is ETPB blurb 1, and the first blurb has assigned this color. And then if you go to the next blurb, it will be ETPB blurb 0, and it will be the same color. So instead of using a CSS class or a CSS variable that specifies that this is the color, and then just reusing that class everywhere, what Divi is doing is generating inline code for every single element on your page, and then in that inline code it specifies the color. So just for comparison's sake, for the people who are not super familiar with CSS and with HTML in general, here's a site that I built where I'm using a style sheet in the child theme, and then in the child theme I'm specifying that the background color for buttons is a CSS variable which is called gold, and then the variable is defined somewhere else in the root, basically in the browser root, and somewhere here it will say gold color. Oh, here we go. Gold color is this color code. The big difference is I can have 40 million buttons on this website, if either blue or gold. For the background layout dark, we have the blue colors, and for the other one we have the gold colors. And in terms of code, this is 2 lines of code. We have one color that we set for all the buttons, no matter if they are button 0 or button 1 or button 2. Yeah, the number doesn't matter. And the background color is going to be defined globally for the entire page. So if I now want to change this color everywhere, what I can do is I can just go into my root settings in my child theme and say that the dark blue color is something else now. It's going to be, I mean, just for showing you really what this can do, we can change this to red, and now all the buttons and all the elements everywhere are going to be red for the most part. This is one exception here because we implemented this a little bit differently. You cannot do the same with Divi. Like, the only way you can change all the colors at the same time would be having something like an important element that says ETPB blurb, and then we would have the ETPB icon, and then say, okay, the color is red now, and now we're overriding everything at the same time. But we wouldn't couldn't override this at the same time. If you're using CSS variables, you could do that. You could replace the color everywhere with just one line of code, and that is not possible. Now, it's worth arguing, is that important? Is that something that people should concern themselves with? Or more specifically, should elegant themes concern themselves with that problem because they want to force people to use their builder? They want to tell them, hey, you need to use our builder, and then you can very easily just go into the color settings, go into the background color, for example, and then you can just use the global color and change it at one point, and you're changing it everywhere at the same time. Look how easy this is. And generally speaking, I get the position where the company is coming from, that they want to make it a little bit harder for coders. But the main problem is that the more bloat you have in your code, the slower your site tends to be. And the slower your site tends to be, at least in the future, the worse the ranking of your site is going to be. Like, this is not going to make like a gigantic difference in terms of SEO, but Google is looking at stuff like that, and Google likes clean code. And all the page builders are notorious for not creating clean code. All the page builders are creating a lot of bloat, a lot of extra stuff. People are criticizing that if you're just having like a headline in Divi, for example, if we have a headline here, this headline is going to be wrapped into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 div tags. So this should be a relatively easy design, but just an H1 on a page will automatically result in 12 div tags if you're just using a regular element in your structure, basically. This is the main problem, the main disadvantage of page builders, and something that specifically elegant themes, which I like them, I like their product. I really think that Divi, in terms of usability, in terms of like the interface and everything, they are like #1 in the market, but the code that they are generating is among the worst in the market, I'm afraid. So this would be my recommendation for them. They really need to clean up their code. They really need to come up with ways to use stuff that is already present in CSS. They need to use CSS classes. They need to use CSS variables. And that is, at the moment, at least at the time of this, when this video is recorded, that is not the case. In that same sense, there is not a lot of reason to use the new feature instead of just using an existing feature, which is just find and replace. Because here you can say, okay, I want to replace this yellow with this blue, and then you replace it just replace it here. Sorry, I forgot one more checkbox. If we want to replace this color and say replace it everywhere with this blue, this is a bit different in terms. This is an image. This is an image with the yellow, but here you see we have the blue everywhere now. So in terms of changing this color, it's very different, because the only way to replace all the instances of blue with the different color would be doing the same thing again and again, saying right click, find and replace. If you have the global color, you just click on the color and you can drag the wheel and you would change that color everywhere. So in the backend, it makes a bit of a difference whether you're using the find and replace or not. In the front end, in terms of the code that is being created, there's absolutely no difference, because this element is going to be an inline element. It's ETPB section 3, and you see the same thing that we saw before. They're using the variable, the counter variable for the element, and then they just set the background color for this specific element, and they do this for every single element on the page. So here the number counter is going to be the same. It's going to be saying ETPB counter 0 and then the background color. So again, the code that the Divi theme is creating is not very clean, but generally speaking, one thumb up for the new feature, because in terms of usability, this is useful. This is going to speed up your designs, especially when you're porting designs, when you have created one website layout and then you want to use it again for a different site and you just want to switch colors. This can speed up your workflow a little bit, but not tremendously. And the main problem is the code is not clean. So I would still recommend just using CSS variables, using CSS classes, working with a child theme, because the code tends to be much cleaner. But still, elegant themes they are on top of these things. They are aware of most of these things, and eventually they're going to figure it out. They're getting there. They're getting there. They had just a very big code refactoration the other day. The backend builder loads much faster, and one of the upcoming features is that they're gonna have like much less bloat, less bloat, I guess is the correct way to say it. So eventually they are gonna get on that, and they are gonna use CSS classes and variables. All right, that's our feature review. If you wanna talk about these things, check out our live stream 4 times a week. We're talking about Divi specifically and WordPress generally speaking on Twitch TV, nexTab.de. nexTab.de, mostly in German, but if an English speaker pops up, we always switch to English and answer their questions. So you can ask your questions for WordPress and Divi, and I'll let you know what we make of them and how to fix things and how to do web design a little bit better than the standard options that Divi offers you. See you guys very soon in the stream. Leave a like on this video and maybe subscribe to the channel so you will get notified when we upload more stuff. We're probably going to do a few more English videos, but for the time being we're going to be sticking to German. But we have code examples and everything, so you can use that regardless of your language skill. So see you guys very, very soon. Bye bye.